Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here with us today. Get ready for a story that will tug at your heart and leave you thinking long after it's over. A simple conversation, a mysterious discovery, and a family's hidden truth all come together in today's incredible tale. But before we dive in, we'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let us know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's special story. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's get started. A simple question uncovers a family secret. Can they heal? Martha Collins had lived a quiet life in her family home for decades. After losing her husband, Nicholas, to illness, she remained in the house that echoed with memories of laughter, scraped knees, and bedtime stories. But the most painful memory of all was the disappearance of her only son, James, 15 years ago. He had been on a research expedition in the Colorado Rockies when he vanished without a trace. His body was never found, and he was officially declared dead. Despite the official report, Martha refused to give up hope. She clung to the belief that one day, somehow, James would return. However, time wore on, and the walls of the home that once felt so full of life now held only unbearable silence. The years passed, and Martha found herself alone, her only companion, the growing emptiness in the rooms she once filled with her family. Eventually, she made the difficult decision to leave the house. She moved into a small condo in the suburbs of San Diego, hoping to find a fresh start. But no matter where she went, the memories of James and the life they once shared stayed with her. It was a quiet afternoon in the condo's communal courtyard when everything changed. Martha sat knitting, the rhythmic motion of her hands helping to soothe the ache in her heart. That's when she noticed a young boy, around 10 years old, sitting next to her. He had messy hair and a bright grin, and he casually asked, "You're new here, Grandma." His name was Alex, and he lived in the building next to hers. As they talked, something caught Martha's attention. Alex had a birthmark beneath his right eye, an unmistakable mark she had seen before. It was exactly like the one James and her late husband Nicholas shared. Martha froze. The mark was so distinctive, so deeply embedded in her memories, that she couldn't ignore the connection. But it was the next moment that truly left her breathless. Alex pulled out a locket from under his shirt, and inside was a photograph of Martha from years ago. She was standing by the lake at their old family cabin, with James just entering his teenage years. It was a moment frozen in time, a memory Martha had cherished. Martha's mind was spinning as she stared at the locket Alex had pulled from around his neck. The photograph inside was unmistakable, a younger version of herself, standing by the lake at their family cabin in Wisconsin. She remembered that moment so clearly. James had just caught his first fish, and Nicholas had been snapping photos, laughing as they stood together, their arms around each other, basking in the warmth of a perfect summer day. But here, in front of her, was that same picture tucked into the locket of a boy she had just met. It was a connection that sent a chill down her spine. How, how do you have this? Martha's voice was shaky, her heart pounding in her chest. Alex, seeing the shock on her face, shrugged casually and smiled. "My mom says she doesn't know who she is," he explained, "but it's my dad's mom." His words hung in the air, thick with meaning. Martha's breath caught in her throat. "Your dad?" she whispered. "You mean Andrew?" Alex nodded, his bright eyes full of innocence, unaware of the bombshell he just dropped. "He disappeared before I was born," he added, and that was when everything clicked into place for Martha. She had never forgotten the man who had stolen her heart, the man who had fathered her son, Andrew Smith, the same man who, years ago, had vanished after an avalanche, his identity lost to the world. Could it be? Was it possible? Martha's hands trembled as she stood, trying to steady herself. She knew she had to find out the truth. She couldn't ignore the connection anymore. The birthmark under Alex's eye, the locket, the photo, all of it pointed to one thing. Andrew, her son, Daniel's father, had somehow survived the avalanche and been living under a different name, an identity erased. She had to know more. Determined to uncover the truth, Martha decided to visit Alex's mother, Hope, later that day. She baked an apple pie to break the ice, hoping it would help ease the tension of the questions she was about to ask. When she arrived at Hope's apartment, she was greeted warmly by Hope, who seemed tired but friendly. They sat down over tea, and that's when Hope began to share her story, how she had met Andrew at a wellness retreat in Colorado, how they fell in love, and how, just 2 weeks, Martha's heart raced as she left Hope's apartment, the weight of everything she had just learned settling heavily on her chest. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Andrew Smith, the man who had disappeared years ago, was her son, Daniel's father. But why had he vanished? How could he have been living under a new identity for so long? There were so many questions and no answers. The mystery that had haunted Martha for over a decade was finally starting to unravel, but it felt like just the tip of the iceberg. She needed to know more. Later that evening, Martha reached out to Samuel Grant, an old family friend and retired prosecutor. She needed someone who could help her investigate, someone who could dig into the past and uncover the truth. Samuel was intrigued by her story and agreed to help. He quickly began his search, pulling old records and contacting people who might know more about Andrew Smith's mysterious disappearance. What Samuel uncovered was both shocking and heartbreaking. Hospital records from a small clinic in Colorado showed that a man who had been treated for trauma and amnesia after the avalanche had been registered under the name Andrew Smith. The records confirmed that the man was, in fact, Daniel's father. Andrew had survived the avalanche, but his memory had been wiped clean, and he had no recollection of his past life. This was why he had been living under a false identity for years, unable to remember his true name or the family he had left behind. Martha's mind swirled with disbelief and hope. Her son's father, the man she had feared lost forever, was alive. But there was more. Hope's story, the locket, the connection between Alex and Daniel's family, all pointed to a much larger conspiracy. Dr. Ian Kramer, the CEO of Kramer Pharmaceuticals, was somehow involved. He had a vested interest in keeping Andrew's true identity hidden. Kramer's pharmaceutical empire stood to lose everything if the world learned about the cancer cure Daniel had been working on, a cure that was now lost to time. As Samuel continued to dig into Kramer's involvement, Martha couldn't shake the feeling that the danger wasn't over. The truth was slowly coming to light, but there were powerful people determined to bury it. And as the walls closed in, Martha knew that the fight for her son's legacy and for justice was just beginning. As the truth about Andrew's disappearance began to surface, the stakes grew higher. Martha and her allies realized they were up against more than just a missing man. They were uncovering a conspiracy that involved Dr. Ian Kramer, the powerful CEO of Kramer Pharmaceuticals. Samuel's investigation revealed that Andrew, now known as David Smith, had been working on a revolutionary cancer cure. A cure so groundbreaking that Kramer's entire pharmaceutical empire could be threatened if it became public. The discovery of the cure was a game changer, but the forces behind its suppression were much stronger than they had anticipated. Martha, determined to bring justice for her son's work, soon found herself face to face with Dr. Kramer. His dismissive attitude towards her claims only fueled her resolve. Kramer had a reputation for ruthlessness, and when he heard about the investigation into Andrew's true identity, he immediately tried to discredit her. He threatened to call Child Protective Services, aiming to paint her as delusional, but Martha wasn't shaken. She had something Kramer couldn't ignore: the proof. Steve, Alex's father, had found a diary that once belonged to Andrew, filled with fragmented memories and formulas for the cancer cure. One page stood out, a chilling line that read, "If Kramer finds the cure, none of us are safe." With trembling hands, Martha showed Kramer the diary and a strange green pendant that had been part of Andrew's belongings. She knew the pendant was more than a keepsake. It contained hidden chemical formulas, the very foundation of the cure. Despite Kramer's attempts to intimidate them, Martha and Samuel refused to back down. They knew they had to act fast, so they reached out to Dr. Michael Levine, a retired biochemist who had once mentored Andrew. With his help, they were able to confirm the authenticity of the cure. Dr. Levine was shocked by the discovery, but his endorsement was crucial. Together, they now had undeniable proof that Kramer had stolen Andrew's research, rebranding it as his own, under the project name Project K. But Kramer wasn't done yet. He retaliated by falsifying medical records, accusing Martha of mental instability in an effort to gain even though the truth had finally been exposed, and Dr. Kramer's conspiracy to suppress Andrew's groundbreaking cancer cure had been revealed. The fight wasn't over. The battle for justice had just begun, and there was still the looming question: where was Andrew? After his years of living under a false identity and being manipulated by Kramer, Andrew's whereabouts remained a mystery. Despite Kramer's confession, there was no guarantee that Andrew would be found, and the threat against his life was very real. Martha, Hope, and Steve couldn't let the discovery of the cure be for nothing. They knew they had to keep fighting, not just for the cure, but for Andrew's safety, and ultimately, for their reunion with him. The court settlement they received for their efforts gave them the means to start a new life, but it couldn't undo the years of heartache and separation. Yet, despite the emotional and physical toll of the years gone by, there was still hope. Hope that one day, Andrew, her son's father, would come home. As time passed, Martha, Hope, and Steve lived in their new home, a place that had been bought with the money from the court settlement. They began to rebuild their lives, but their hearts remained heavy with the uncertainty of Andrew's fate. Every year, on the anniversary of his disappearance, they received a package, rare mineral samples, and a note in shaky handwriting that simply read, "Continue the fight." Each note seemed like a message from Andrew himself, urging them to keep going. Martha couldn't help but wonder if it was Andrew's way of letting them know that no matter where he was still alive and thinking of them. Steve, now a teenager, grew increasingly passionate about medicine and geology, determined to carry on his father's work. He would often stand by the window late at night, looking up at the stars, whispering to the sky, "Good night, Dad, wherever you are." He believed that one day, somehow, his father would return. Every year, the hope that Andrew might come home grew stronger. But for now, Martha, Hope, and Steve continued their lives, honoring the legacy of a man they could never forget. Somewhere out there, perhaps in a quiet town or a bustling city, Andrew, now with pieces of his memory returning, stared up at the same stars, feeling a tug in his. We hope today's story touched your heart as much as it did ours. The incredible journey of Martha, Hope, and Steve proves that even in the darkest times, hope can shine through, and the truth has a way of finding its way to the surface. It's a reminder that love, sacrifice, and persistence can lead to amazing, life-changing outcomes. But now, we want to hear from you. What do you think of the story? Do you believe that Andrew will find his way back to his family? Or do you think there's more to this story yet to unfold? Have you ever faced a situation where hope seemed lost, but you kept going anyway? We'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Your stories might just inspire others who are going through tough times. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's always incredible to see how stories like these bring people from all over the world together. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss tomorrow's special story. We have more incredible tales waiting for you, so don't miss out. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts.